Alright, hello everyone, my name is Disc, and in this video I wanted to make a quick update video talking about everything I have coming in 11.1 and go through my read of talents and I guess what I'm going to be playing to start out. Then I'm also going to give an example of the rotation at the end. It's a lot easier than it used to be, so that is welcomed. But I'm still going to be making videos, I'm still going to be on Metafy, and I've gone ahead to kind of build some hype for this season. I've posted my updates to KUI and Grid 2. Those are the biggest ones. They've had a total rehaul, so they're a lot more robust. I've reworked the back end, the front end. Mainly now we track Paladin externals better. They just kind of have their own dedicated spot. It is necessary, and Paladins are pretty popular in Mythic Plus, so I've kind of improved them there. It tracks immunities better. And then in the past, let me show you this. So in the past, you would get my Grid 2, my KUI, and then all of these weak auras. So I've gone ahead and condensed this too to make it easier for anyone who's using them. So you'll just download one weak aura, which has the dispels, targeted casts, marks our bleeds and debuffs, and our heal absorb. So I've tried to make it easier for everyone who uses my stuff, easier to import at least. But the weak aura portion is not done. It'll be out soon. The Grid 2 and KUI is at least in its beta. But here are our talents, and this is what I'm going to try playing moving forward. I have looked around for what other people are doing, and I don't see much of a consensus yet. But this is what I'm going to try based upon just what I think is going to work. So I'm still playing Prayer of Mending. It's a little bit of a hassle, but I think does bring value to a group over Holy Nova. But the big one here, based on the blue post, I felt like it was a little vague as to whether our Mindbender was going to be 30 seconds still or not, and it is. So it says something like the Void Wraith, which was 3 minutes, is now 2 minutes. I don't think anyone really knew what that meant, but our Mindbender is not affected. It is still a 30-second cooldown, fixed cooldown, which is pretty cool. And with the Mindbender and all of our torments, I think we're still living in the world where we need to aim for 8. So 6 as the baseline, 8 with executes, but I think now we also have opportunities where we can probably get even up to 10 torments. And you have to consider with haste, like with a PI and lust, if you remember our penance, if you see the cooldown text there is green, it's now affected by our haste. So I think in these major haste windows, there's going to be a world where we can get upwards of 10 torments. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. But it's done a lot to kind of ease the rotation. There's not as much pressure to smite, which is a good feeling. We just kind of hit our penance on cooldown. The rest falls into place pretty easily. And then, yeah, so we're still going Will and Woe. Our Harsh Discipline was buffed from where it was. Instead of ever having an 8 stack, which I don't think is that valuable or used that much, we now have 2 6s, which is still really good. Will and Woe is great. This is our spot healing. Targeted cast weak auras and things like it is how you maximize this. Blaze of Light still, because we've had our penance buff outright. We're going to need this to buff the penance. And then I'm still playing Enduring Luminescence, and I think now more than ever this is the right play. Actually, I take that back now that I think about it. I think Bright Pupil might be the right play because of this, Divine Procession. So basically, our smites are going to be extending our atonements. This is an old school tier set feel, but I think because of this atonement extension, going for more radiance is the right play. So per radiance, our atonements are going to last longer. So I think taking more, I just think that might be the right play. I'll have to see what other people think. But then, so we have Evangelism and Ultimate Penitence here in the middle. So these are, so Evangelism replaces where Rapture was. And Evangelism, I can't remember exactly what was here, but it's so central, it's kind of, it's hard to get to the bottom without taking it. So this is a pretty standard pick for us now. And the Evangelism, I think, although I'm going to miss Rapture, Rapture's totally gone, I think this kind of fits the bill plus some. So let's say there's a damage event coming, a group-wide hit. We used to Rapture 5 times in a row, 5 globals for the effect. But now instead of 5 globals post-event, I'm sorry, pre-event, it's Evangelism post-event. So it's just a single global to recover health. But I think the caveat here is if you read the tooltip carefully, the heal is split amongst everyone atoned. So I think there's a world where we can use it as single target healing, or maybe 2 target healing, and get a lot more out of it. So a big I guess, qualm or concern people have with discipline is they would say, quote unquote, we don't have good spot healing. I've never agreed with that personally because Wheel and Woe is spot healing. It's just not reactive. But now we're going to have a reactive spot heal, and that's coming from Evangelism. And I think this is going to fit great in our talent book because Rapture, which used to be here, I felt like I didn't really need it. I was playing it just mainly for the cooldown reduction of Paints Up, which is no longer a thing. Neither is Rapture. Or actually, wait. So that's still a thing, but we don't have Rapture for the CDR here. So I felt like I was forcing myself to play Rapture just for the CDR. I didn't really ever need it. So I think opening the door, instead of wasting 5 globals not attacking, the Evangelism is going to be a good fit. And then the Ultimate Penitence, I guess, I mean, the spell itself is kind of cool, but I never liked it up until now. It just didn't really fit in our playstyle. It was more important to smite for CDR, but now we don't have to smite. It's very centrally located. It was buffed in a sense. You know, we can move during this cast. So it's a lot better than it used to be, a lot more playable and central in the talent book. So this is going to be something we are taking. And then I wanted to pose just some food for thought. I'm definitely going to have to kind of readdress this in a future video. But with the changes to Void Wraith, and a lot of people have already reached out to me saying, oh my God, what do you think about this nerf, the nerf? I just don't look at it that way. So if you remember, technically, Void Wraith was bugging for all of Season 1. The interaction between it and Shadow Fiend didn't scale buffs properly, so it was bugging all season. So all they've done is normalize it to what it was intended. It was nice while it lasted, but I don't think this is a nerf. They're just kind of putting things where they need to be finally, I guess. But I think this opens the door for Depth of Shadows maybe coming back into style. Or I guess it never was in style, but I did toy with it at the beginning of Season 1. I think this might be a niche play if you want this type of gameplay. So I'm going to be on the lookout for what other people are doing. But then, yeah, let's see. The last thing I wanted to mention here. So I think a common pick is you take Lenience here. I don't know if anyone's noticed that yet. But I had this point. I've choiced it down to Expiation. And Expiation 2 of 2 is a pretty hard gameplay because it eats up your dots so quickly. It actually is, it burdens your play a lot because to maximize it, it's just not easy. But I think with this floating extra point here, going 1 of 1 Expiation might be a good play because of how it was buffed. So our dots themselves, they don't hit, they apply at 16 seconds. It used to be 20. So they're shorter dots. We don't want to be eating that much of them, but our dots are more potent and the Expiation itself was buffed. So this is a slight change to gameplay, but I think it's very engaging, trying to like bounce targets around. I'll show you in a second to consume your dots. So it happens off of Mind Blast and Shadow War Death. I think this is only something to consider if you're good with execute play. And I think I'm pretty good at that. I'm always kind of like seeking those out and trying to get them for my output. So if you're not to the place yet in your game style or your gameplay where you're getting a lot of extra executes, Lenience might be the play, but I'm going to be trying Expiation. And I do want to give an example here. There's really not much to the rotation. I'm not going to like spell it out like on paper. But oh wait, let me just go back this for the example. It's a pretty free rotation. You don't have to worry about fiending for smite anymore, which is a blessing. And you kind of just hit your penance as it comes up. Something to think about, and I started doing it more recently in my play, is before the rift expires, we really need to feed it as many bolts as possible, and that's for its multipliers. So we really want to put as many radiants into play while the rift is out. So a lot of times I'll radiance as like an atonement ramp, but I'll also give someone a shield. That's for my Words of the Pious. And then at that point, I have one proc that's going to be loaded into the rift, and you'll do another radiance to load that proc into the rift. So let's just see how this goes. Put a couple of dots out. Just PI myself too for fun. So pet, rift, penance, death. See how my dot is consumed over here, so I'll switch. Switch back. That's about it. So it's a pretty free rotation. It's a lot more comfortable than it used to be. And with the additions of Evangelism, I think this is looking like it's going to be a fun season. So yeah, let me know if you're interested in any AUG videos. I'm been leveling my AUG. It's been pretty fun. And stay tuned for the Weak Aura pack that is coming soon. If you're a supporter of the channel, the Grid 2 and the KUI, which are the biggest ones, those are already published. So please update them. They've had a lot of reworks. It's all the same, but just better. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. And until next time, Disc out.